Imagine a young boy, barely able to see over the steering wheel, already showing signs of prodigious talent. Fast forward a few years, and that same boy is now a household name dominating the world of Formula One. But how did he get there? What were the pivotal moments, challenges, and triumphs that shaped his journey from rookie to legend? In this video, we dive deep into the incredible story of Max Verstappen, uncovering the secrets behind his meteoric rise to greatness. Our story begins in 2003 when Jos Verstappen, a seasoned Formula One driver, hung up his racing gloves. But as one Verstappen's career ended, another was just beginning. That new Verstappen was Max, Jos's son, who, at the tender age of 7, was about to embark on a journey that would reshape the world of motorsport. Jos knew the world of F1 all too well. His own career had been a rollercoaster of aggressive driving and unfortunate mistakes. But in his son Max, he saw a chance to rewrite history. From the moment Max could walk, Jos had a plan. A quad bike at 2, a go-kart at 4, and by 7, Max was already racing. This wasn't just about fun, it was about creating a champion. The Verstappen household wasn't like others. Whilst most kids played video games or hung out with friends, Max's childhood was a whirlwind of tracks, tools, and tyres. Jos wasn't just a coach, he was Max's entire world. Mechanic, tuner, driver, mentor. Jos wore every hat imaginable in his quest to mould his son into the perfect racing machine. Imagine a typical week in young Max's life. Monday to Friday, he'd rush home from school, barely taking time to drop his backpack before heading to the track. Jos would be waiting, tools in hand, ready to begin another grueling practice session. They'd work until dinner, then often return to the garage, tinkering with engines and discussing race strategies late into the night. Weekends were even more intense. While other families planned beach trips or movie nights, the Verstappens packed their custom Sprinter van, 4 go-karts, countless tools, and a small bed in the back. This was their home away from home. They'd drive for hours, sometimes covering 80,000 kilometers in a year, all in pursuit of the next race, the next win, the next step forward towards F1 glory. At the track, while other kids played between practice runs, Max was in the garage. Jos's voice was a constant presence, teaching him every nut and bolt of the kart. He learned to feel the machine, to understand its language, to anticipate its needs. This wasn't just about driving fast, it was about becoming one with the vehicle. The results were staggering. Between the ages of 7 and 11, Max won an astonishing 68 out of 70 races he entered. During this period, Max conquered the Belgian Mini Championship for 2 years straight before moving up to claim the Mini Max category. But for Jos, winning wasn't enough. He wanted Max to understand the mechanics, the strategy, and the mental game of racing. After each victory, there was no rest. It was back to the garage, analysing every turn and every overtake, always looking for ways to improve. When Max was 12, his parents separated. While his younger sister went to live with their mother, Max chose to stay with Jos. It was a difficult decision for a young boy, but Max knew that this was his best chance for achieving his dreams. The choice meant saying goodbye to a normal childhood, but for Max, the racetrack had always felt more like home than anywhere else. During his karting years, Max won everything in sight. He added the KF and KZ European titles, the WSK Euro Series KZ1, the WSK Master Series KZ2, and the KF2 Winter Cup to his ever-growing collection. It wasn't just about speed anymore, it was about racing smart, about understanding the long game. Jos watched with pride as his son began to surpass even his wildest expectations. As Max entered his mid-teens, whispers began to spread through the racing world. There was something special about this Dutch kid, something that went beyond mere talent. F1 teams began to take notice, and Jos knew that their years of sacrifice were about to pay off. So Jos and 16-year-old Max set their sights on the next challenge. Single-seater racing. His first stop? The 2014 Florida Winter Series. Now you'd expect a few teething problems in this transition, right? Well, Max delivers. By crashing into Antonio Foucault in the pits during the very first session. But here's where the Verstappen magic kicks in. Despite this inauspicious start, Max went on to win twice in a field pack with more experienced Formula Renault 2.0 and Formula 3 drivers. It was a performance that left team managers and racing pundits scratching their heads. How could a rookie with zero single-seater experience be this good this quickly? Most young drivers would take a cautious approach after their first taste of Formula racing, but Max Verstappen isn't like most drivers. In a move that raised eyebrows across the motorsport world, he decided to jump straight into one of the most competitive proving grounds in racing, the Formula 3 European Championship. Driving for Van Amersfoort Racing, the same team his father once raced for, Max didn't just compete, he excelled. He scored his first win in only his second F3 weekend, but it's what came next that truly set the racing world abuzz. 6 consecutive victories, split between Spa-Francorchamps and the Norris Ring. It was a streak of dominance rarely seen in such a competitive series, especially from a rookie. Max's extraordinary performances didn't go unnoticed. By mid-2014, he had caught the attention of 2 of the biggest names in Formula 1, Mercedes and Red Bull. Both teams were keen to snap up this once-in-a-generation talent, but it was Red Bull that made the decisive move. On August 12, 2014, Red Bull announced that Max Verstappen had joined their junior driver program. It was a significant coup considering their roster already included several high-rated drivers leading various championships. But Red Bull wasn't done yet. In a move that sent shockwaves through the motorsport world, just 6 days later, Red Bull announced that Max would race for their junior team, Toro Rosso, in the 2015 Formula 1 season. Let that sink in for a moment. A 16-year-old with less than a year of single-seater experience was signed to compete at the pinnacle of motorsport. Just 3 days after his 17th birthday, Verstappen got his first taste of an F1 car during practice for the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix. Can you imagine being behind the wheel of the world's most advanced racing machines before you could legally drive in most countries? Max Verstappen's arrival in F1 was so unprecedented that it prompted the sport's governing body to introduce new rules to prevent such a young and inexperienced driver from reaching the top so quickly. But young Max was about to prove that age is just a number. Driving for Toro Rosso, Verstappen quickly silenced his critics with a remarkable mature first season. Despite piloting a car with a weak and unreliable Renault engine, he managed to turn heads with some eye-catching performances. Verstappen's 4th place finishes in Hungary and at the Circuit of the Americas were the highlights of the season that saw him develop a reputation for bold overtaking moves. By the end of the year, the whispers had started. How long before this prodigy gets a shot in a top team? The question wasn't if he would be promoted to Red Bull's senior team, but when. The answer came faster than anyone anticipated. In May 2016, Red Bull Racing made a bold and somewhat controversial decision. After just 4 races into the season, they swapped Daniel Kvyat with Max Verstappen. While Kvyat was demoted back to Toro Rosso, Max was handed the keys to one of the most competitive cars on the grid. The move was a clear sign of the faith Red Bull had in Verstappen's abilities, even if some of the paddock thought it was too soon. But Red Bull knew something the others didn't. Max was ready. What happened next is the stuff of racing legend. In his very first race with Red Bull, at the notoriously tricky Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, Max Verstappen achieved the unthinkable. After Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg collided and took each other out, the path to victory opened up. Max, however, still had to fend off a charging Kimi Raikkonen in a faster Ferrari. Under immense pressure, Verstappen didn't flinch. He held off the Finn with a maturity that belied his age and crossed the finish line to become the youngest winner in Formula 1 history at just 18 years and 228 days old. That race wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. A statement to the entire F1 world that Max Verstappen was no ordinary talent. He wasn't just a future star, he was a force to be reckoned with, here and now. From that point forward, Verstappen's career trajectory shot skyward. His aggressive driving style, fearless overtakes, and relentless pursuit of victory earned him legions of fans. But it also brought its share of controversy. The so-called Verstappen rule was introduced after multiple complaints about his defensive moves, particularly his penchant for changing lines under braking, a tactic that some drivers deemed dangerous. Yet for many, these bold manoeuvres were part of what made Max so electrifying to watch. Over the next few years, Verstappen matured as a driver. The raw aggression that sometimes led to mistakes became more measured, but it never disappeared. That fiery passion remained, fueling some of the most thrilling battles on track. By the time the 2021 season rolled around, Verstappen had evolved into a complete driver, no longer just a prodigy, but a title contender. Red Bull, having closed the gap to Mercedes, provided him with a car capable of challenging for the championship. And challenge he did, going head-to-head with Lewis Hamilton in one of the most intense and controversial title fights in F1 history. The 2021 season finale in Abu Dhabi will be remembered for generations. Verstappen, trailing Hamilton for most of the race, was gifted a lifeline when a late safety car was deployed. In a dramatic twist, race director Michael Massey made the controversial decision to allow only the lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen to unlap themselves, setting up a one-lap shootout for the championship. What was certain, however, was that Max Verstappen had arrived as a world champion. The boy who had grown up in the shadow of his father's unfulfilled racing dreams had now surpassed them in spectacular fashion. But Max wasn't satisfied with just one title. He had tasted glory, and he wanted more. The 2022 season was a coronation of sorts. With a dominant car, Verstappen took full advantage, winning a staggering 15 races on his way to a second consecutive world championship, silencing any doubters who thought 2021 was a fluke. By the time 2023 came around, Max Verstappen was firmly in control of the Formula One world. His dominance on the track was reminiscent of the sport's greatest legends: Senna, Schumacher, and Vettel. Each race weekend felt less like a competition and more like a showcase of Verstappen's superiority. No longer the brash upstart, Max had evolved into the sport's undisputed king, crushing his competition with a brutality that left little room for debate. As we look into the future, the question isn't whether Verstappen will continue to dominate, it's how far he can take it. With Red Bull showing no signs of slowing down, and Max still in his mid-20s, the possibilities are endless. Could he break Schumacher's record of 7 world titles? Could he surpass Hamilton's 103 race wins? The answers remain to be seen, but if there's one thing we know about Max Verstappen, it's that he doesn't back down from a challenge. And that's how we chronicle the journey of Max Verstappen. Let me know what you think. To stay in the know with the most up-to-date F1 insights and the most legendary cars in F1, subscribe now. It's the best way to stay informed and be part of the excitement.